I'm going to give you 4 quotes. You're going to have to count the quotes. And when you see the 4 quotes, then the sermon is over. The message is over. So really, everything that I say revolves around you understanding these 4 quotes. Okay, so you count them. I'm not going to count them for you. Okay. So do not fall asleep. Like I said, those at home, don't go get a Slurpee or Coca-Cola. This might be over. We're just going to go a step further, and then we're going to finish next week. All right? Okay, so recycle adversity. We've been talking about recycling adversity. And we said, what is adversity? Adversity is a continued difficulty, a state or condition of misfortune. So adversity is anything which is prolonged in your life that is misfortunate, that is a condition of difficulty or discomfort. And we said that we oftentimes misjudge the duration of a circumstance in our lives. In other words, there are some things that come into our lives and we think, oh, we won't have to deal with that for a while. Oh, they'll just pass. And they just bring their suitcase, their bags, they move in, and they stay longer than we would like. And we get to the point where we feel like, well, this will never go away, or how am I ever going to deal with this or move past this? I'll never get any relief from this. And we get to these points where adversity stays for so long, we think this is just the way life is going to be now. Adversity. And what we've been talking about over the last 2 weeks is that adversity, as disciples of Christ, we have the power to recycle adversity. We have the power to transform adversity as God transforms adversity for us too. So we are working with God with our adversity. So we talked about last week that the first option that we have is adversity can be recycled into possibility. Into possibility. And I gave you an assignment. In a moment, I'm going to see how many people did that assignment. So we've been looking at Mark 20, Mark 9, 20 through 26. And basically, look, we talked about this for a number of Sundays. Somebody comes to Jesus and says, listen, your disciples couldn't kill my son. And Jesus says, well, can you imagine it being possible that your son would be healed? That's the first thing Jesus said. Do you think it's possible? Can you imagine that it's possible for your son to be healed? In other words, can you imagine that your family circumstances could be different than they are right now? Is it possible? Can you imagine that possibility? And we see that oftentimes Jesus wanted to test our imagination before healing took place. He wanted to know if it was possible for us to imagine our lives being different. Now we're going to talk about this. Can you imagine it's possible for your adversity to be transformed into something else for your good? Now this is just a review. We talked about possibility. What is possible is limited by imagination. What you believe is possible, what is possible, is limited by your imagination. And we also talked about that imagination is limited by exposure. So if you're having difficulty imagining something, that means that you need to increase your exposure. So let me review this very quickly, and then we're going to move forward. I gave you an adversity exercise, and the exercise was this. Whatever adversity you're dealing with, you had to think about it. And I said, can you imagine that your adversity can be transformed, can be different than it is right now? And I asked all of you in the sanctuary last Sunday, I said, listen, whatever you're dealing with, whatever you're going through, can you just simply imagine that it's possible for it to be different? And can you get a vision of that? And some of you were able to do it, and some of you were not. And we said this, if you cannot imagine your adversity being transformed into your good, then you need more divine exposure. And we talked about divine exposure is, listening to silence, is experiencing the void of fasting, is going into the spiritual disciplines, going deeper with that. And I mentioned this last week, yesterday at the meditation group. It we have to understand that emptiness is an acquired taste. That it takes time to really appreciate just how listening to silence can edify your life, can expand your imagination. It takes time to imagine how, or to get how fasting or limiting your or abstaining from something can actually help you. But it's an acquired taste. And I'll think back to when I first got to Union. One of the people that came up to me was Sister Allen. Shout out to Sister Allen if she's online. And Sister Allen came to me. She said, "You know what, Reverend Weaver, do you like fruitcake?" And I said, I don't really like fruitcake like that. This just doesn't do anything for me." No. She said, but you haven't tasted my fruitcake. You haven't tasted my fruitcake. I said, "Listen, look, you want to give me your fruitcake? I'll taste your fruitcake. I try." But in my mind, I would say, "I don't like fruitcake. I'm not going to like her fruitcake." A couple days went by, maybe a week went by. She brought me back this little aluminum foil container fruitcake. I brought it home where I said, "Oh, I guess we got to try some. So let's try something to be nice." And we tried some. It was the best fruitcake I've ever tasted in my life. I like fruitcake, but I only like Sister Island's fruitcake. I won't eat any other fruitcake but that fruitcake. Nothing else, nothing else, nothing else. And what I'm saying is that sometimes you just need to be exposed to the right thing at the right time. And that's kind of what fasting is like. That's what silence is like. That's what divine exposure is like. Some of you, you just need to do it in a slightly different way, and that's going to make all the difference in the world. Sometimes it's something very simple, very slight. Just look at it in a different way, to do it a different way, to fast from something that you never considered fasting from before. This is what I'm talking about, increasing our divine exposure. Because if you do this, I'm not telling you what I've heard, I'm telling you what I know. If you can increase your divine exposure, it will increase and stretch your imagination. Okay, so that's just, and shout out to Sister Island for my birthday cake. Shout out to all those who offered me birthday wishes and cards and gifts. So I want to thank you all for that. I'm still eating the cake, Sister Island. I'm still working on that cake. Amen. Okay, then let's go. We don't imagine what God can do so that God will do it. We imagine to stretch our hearts and minds to become more flexible to a limitless God. Quote number 1 is that I gave you this exercise to increase your imagination, not so that, well, if I can see it, then I know God's going to do it exactly the way I want God. No, that's not what I said. I never said that. You increase your imagination, you increase your divine exposure, you stretch your imagination so that you can be more flexible to wherever God will desire you to go. So that you could be more flexible to see what God is doing right now that you might be overlooking. So we stretch so that we can be more flexible to a limitless God that can do amazing things even with what we have right now in our lives. Okay, let me put this another way. So if you count these quotes, athletes practice not to ensure the game goes their way. They practice to be ready for however the game may unfold. That's the same thing. That we stretch our imagination. We increase our divine exposure, silence, spiritual disciplines, fasting, the void of fasting, so that whatever life may throw at us, we will be flexible enough working with God to be able to handle it. Because I'm telling you, the spiritual disciplines that you practice today are going to prepare you for what life throws at you tomorrow. The problem with too many of us is that you're trying to study when God has already given you the exam. You should have been studying before that. So now the studying that you're doing now is going to prepare you for the next exam that you get. We'll talk about exams next week. So they practice to be ready for however the game may unfold. Are you with me? Okay. Now let's go. Now let's go. The baby step forward. Recycle adversity into potential. So we talked about possibility, recycle adversity into possibility, recycle adversity into potential. Potential and possibility are not the same thing. Let's talk about this. Working definitions. So, possible, something that is not present but could be present. What's possible? Potential, something that is present but could be more. And adversity can be recycled into possibility, and it can be recycled into potentiality. So let me give you some examples to make sure that we understand the difference. I want you to tell me, is this a possibility or a possibility, something possible or something potential based on the definitions we did? Is it something possible, potential? I believe some good can come out of this horrible situation. If you're online, let me know in the chat. Is that a possibility or something dealing with potential? I believe some good can come out of this horrible situation. I don't necessarily know where the good is, but I believe it could happen. Is that possibility or potential? Possibility? Raise your hand if you think it's possibility. Raise your hand if you think it's potential. Okay, it's possibility, right? I don't know. I don't see any good, but I believe that it could happen. It could be there. Okay, that's possibility. Possibility is something that's not present but could be present. Okay, good. Number 2, I believe I can be more healthy this year. Is that possibility or potential? Ah, okay. I believe I can become more healthy this year. Raise your hand if you think that's possibility. Raise your hand if you think that's potential. It's potential, good. Because if you're alive, you have some health in you. It might not be a lot, but if you're alive, you have some level of health in you. So the question is, can you increase your health? So you have something and you want to increase it. Good. Okay, good. I believe I can become more flexible in body and mind. Is that a possibility or is that a potential? Raise your hand if it's possibility. Raise your hand if it's potential. Yeah. Good, it's potential. Because I have some flexibility, but I believe I can be a little bit more flexible. Good. It's already there. I just believe it can be more. Okay. I believe I will meet a new friend this year. I believe I will meet a new friend this year. Is that a possibility or is that potential? Okay, you're getting this. Good, very good, very good. You're getting it now. Okay. I can't see that. I believe that my relationships will deepen this year. You got it. Potential. All right, you got it. Okay, now, so we know the difference between a possibility and potential. I'm assuming those online got it because I don't have my computer in front of me today. That's all right. You got it. Amen. I see that. Amen. All right. I hope you're keeping track of these quotes. Before you birth the possible that you don't have, raise the potential that you do have. Don't jump. Don't be so quick to jump to trying to birth something new before you jump over raising the potential that's already in front of you. All of your adversity, all of the things that are not that are enduring with you that is misfortune, though that adversity can increase something more in your life that's already present. It can be recycled to enhance something in your life that is already present in your life. So let's go with this. How do we do this? We talked about how to increase possibility. How do we increase potential? Here we go. creativity enhances potentiality. If you want to have more potential, if you want to see more potentiality in your life, you must find a way to increase your creativity. That simple. That simple. Let's take this. Let's break this down for a minute. So I like to compare and contrast the difference between biblical and modern Hebrew. And for those who have taken this journey and dived more into it, all of us have learned a little bit, and some of us have went a little bit deeper with the Hebrew group. The wonderful thing about the Hebrew language is that it's very old. It's thousands and thousands of years old, and it's one of the oldest active alphabets that is still used. But there's a modern language of it too. And the biblical language kind of, is the foundation, and then they have this modern language. And a lot of times they use words that are thousands of years old, but they put them in a modern setting. But they're similar. So let me give you some examples. Let me start with something easy. So most often these words are you can see the correlation. So we all know this one, shalom. And in biblical Hebrew, shalom means, as you know, it means peace, it means well-being. In modern Hebrew, it just means hi. It means like, how you doing? Mashalom ha, mashalom mek. How you doing? What's going on with you? It can also mean bye. So in biblical Hebrew, it means peace. In modern Hebrew, it's just a greeting. It means hello, bye. How are you doing? Okay. So, but you can see the similarity. So, kiseh, in biblical Hebrew, kiseh is a throne. In modern Hebrew, kiseh, which makes sense, is a chair. So, throne, chair. But you can see the similarity. Okay. Another word, nazir. So in biblical Hebrew, nazir means dedicated, consecrated, something that is set for a particular purpose. In modern Hebrew, nazir means a monk. But you can see the correlation. So oftentimes the correlation between biblical Hebrew and modern Hebrew, you can see the connection. But every now and again, there's these words that when they're taken from biblical Hebrew to modern Hebrew, they don't have a clear-cut connection. And let me give you one that I think was very interesting. Bara. In biblical Hebrew, bara means to create. Bara, he created. The first line in Genesis is Elohim bara. Bereshit Elohim bara. In the beginning, God created. So in biblical Hebrew, bara means to create. In modern Hebrew, there's this phrase, ani bari, same root. It means to be healthy. Same exact root. Create, healthy. I find that so interesting. That essentially there's this connection between creation and health, between creativity and health. There's a connection between health and creativity. And let me be more specific. Increase your potentiality by increasing your creativity. And what do I mean by that? Is that if you want to figure out how the good things in your life can be enhanced, then you must figure out a way where you are more creative. What do I mean by that? Create something every day. It's just that simple. Make sure that you are in that life-giving process of creating every day. Let me give you examples. Create words every day. So I make up words, as you know. So I have this word that I use. It's called curdy. It's called curdy. It's a word I made up. And it's the word because, sometimes my wife will come to me and she would say, she would pick up this shirt. She would say, is this shirt clean or is it dirty? And I would say, it's not really clean, it's not really dirty, it's curdy. I just, I worn it, but I haven't worn it enough for it to go into the washing machine. So it's curdy. It's just a word that I made up to suit my environment, to suit, my language. But it's creativity, it's curdy, it's curdy. It's not ready for the wash machine right now, but it's not super fresh. It's curdy. You can use that. Don't worry about it. You can use it. Another word that I've used. So that's the word that I use in the house. That's the word that I use in the house, curdy. And there's another word. This is the word I created for union. It's called accomption. Some of you heard this before. Accomption. Because I found that sometimes, what I found is that sometimes people come to me and they ask me a question, but it's not really a question. It's really a statement. It's really a comment. And sometimes people come to me and say, I have this question, but it's not. The question is so long, it really turns into a declaration. So it's not really a question. It's a comption. It's a comment disguised as a question. It's a comption. It's okay. So it's all right. Just call it what it is. It's a comption. It has a question mark at the end, but it has a lot of commas in it. It's a comption. It's not a question. It's not a comment. Make up words. This is a form of creativity. Make up a word every day. Just another form of creativity. You can make meals, but don't make meals just to have it. The one thing I love about my wife, I love many things about my wife, but when she gets into her zones, when she's really feeling herself, she says, "Don't come into the kitchen. I'm doing something now." And she will get into this zone, and she's not just making a dessert, she is creating a dessert, and the two are not the same. Turn cooking into a creative experience. I know we have some phenomenal cooks in Union, but don't make cooking simply something perfunctory, make it something creative. This is always we can enhance our creativity, enhance our potential. Outfits. Some people say never wear the same outfit twice. I don't know how possible it is, but they just think, always accessorize it, put something different in it, wear it in a different way. Creativity. I'm giving you simple ways. Create new habits. Create new routines. Go places like when I'm driving with my father sometimes. Shout out to my dad if he's with me. So I'm driving, I'm picking up my father one day. And he says, go down this street. And I'm like, Dad, I'm just trying to go home. I'm trying to take you home. He's no, go down this street. I want to show you this new community and these new houses. And we're driving down the street, and he's showing me these huge houses that I'll never be able to afford. But thank you for showing them something. But creativity, create new routines, create new meals. If you can do that, because it stimulates us in a way that allows us to see potential in our lives, allows us to increase the potential that we have in our lives. Creativity, remember, if you want to take me back to the Hebrew, bari, remember that word. Bari means healthy. Ani bari, I am healthy. But when you say I'm healthy, that's also the same root for create. He created, bara. So just keep that in mind, that connection between, and as I always say, think every day. Think, challenge your mind, stretch your mind. I told you this many times. Every night I have this whiteboard, and I just write thoughts on it. And sometimes the thoughts are edifying, sometimes I hang on to them, sometimes I share them with you, and sometimes I don't. But I'm always trying to create new thoughts, create new ideas, make new connections, just for the exercise of doing it. And when you can bring more creativity in your life, what happens is the things that you think in your life that are just going to be one way, you can find out they have more potential than what you think, because you now stimulate yourself to be more creative. There's a connection between health and creativity. Are you with me? How many quotes have I given you? Very good. All right, here we go. Make divine sparks every day. That's what it comes down to. Make divine sparks every day. Even if it's a little spark, it doesn't matter. Just do something that's creative every day. Divine sparks, something that's creative. And this is how you know it's a divine spark. Because divine sparks will catch fire. And this is how you know it's divine and not secular. Divine sparks will catch fire, and the fire will warm yourself and others. That's how you know the creativity is coming from a good place. You know, when your creativity leads to other people's benefit and leads to your benefit, the spark becomes a fire, and the fire begins to warm you and others. You know, it's so interesting as I close that, you know, as I'm preparing it to transition from Union, and, you know, 5, 6, 7 years ago, I don't know, I just started, you know, making these paintings, you know, with these Hebrew letters and concepts, and just for no particular reason, just doing it because I was being in a creative space. And I never knew that 7 years later, I'll be giving all these paintings away. And it has been, you know, some of you have come to me and, you know, have said, you know, what does this mean? And I'm so glad, and it brightens up my home. And I don't even know how many I've given away, but I love giving them away. And I've never had any intention to do anything with them. But it was just coming from a space where I was just at home at night. I didn't want to turn on the TV. I didn't want to stare at my cell phone. And I was just being creative. Not because I'm a good artist, just because I was wanting to be in that creative space. But God is so good that God has allowed me not only to be in that creative space, but God has allowed me to give those paintings to many of you. And, you know, you will have them. I better not see any of my paintings on eBay or Etsy. One of a kind, Reverend Weaver original. I better not. I'm going to check them every now and again to make sure they're not on there. I don't know how much you would get for them, but you wouldn't do that. Okay. All right. Listen. This is your assignment. And then next week we're going to close this up. Your assignment. Create something. Create something you haven't created before this week. It could be a thought, a word, anything. It can be a meal. It can be your breakfast meal, whatever. Create something new that you haven't created today, a routine. And if you want, you can send me a picture of it. I love seeing what you do, and we'll share that. Amen.